earth and sea. I call upon you in this hour, bring magic unto me. Brothers, oh, the cauldron cries, it singeth unto me. The songs of Mother Goddess and of Father in the tree.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and thank you for joining me here in the spaces between. We are being broadcast live on Truth Frequency Radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live. So, hello. I hope you're all doing well. And for those of you that are listening on YouTube, because we're live there too, guess what? Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button down below. And that way you'll know when we're going live anyways. And no matter where you're at, make sure you do stop in to say hello. And I'm glad you're here. And I'm super stoked that you guys keep coming back and wanting to join in on my journey. It's been kind of an adventure. So just so you know, the website is technically live. Not all the content is there. It's kind of boring right now. It is. Those spaces between, that live is not very exciting. But yeah, that's me. It's going there. I've also got a Patreon account set up. It's got 5 different levels. And the basic one is just $1. I guess it's a monthly type of subscription. I don't know that much about Patreon. It's been kind of a learning experience. And anyways, it'll give you access to any of the private content, some of my show notes, that kind of thing. And then goes all the way up to I think $100 or $150 a month. If you guys really like me that much, I will happily accept that. But that would include like a custom set of runes. So I'd make runes for you, and then monthly readings. And so I'll get all that stuff into the website here in the next week, maybe this weekend. Kind of depends on how the weekend goes. If it goes anything like it did tonight, I'm not going to get much done other than cleaning, and then more cleaning, and then maybe some cleaning after that, because it's been just it was a fun night. So in the chat rooms, I see that we have me and Richie and Blacktree. Hi, Julia. Renee, looks like you're in both places. Brent, hello, Brent. Good show tonight. Chewy, hi, Chewy63. And then in YouTube world, I see Cameron, Deb, Gemini, Renee, myself again, and then I saw other names. Sage, hi Sage. Thank you for stopping by, and thanks for emailing me the other day. I appreciated it, and I got another shout out from another listener asking about the shamanistic path, and so that was kind of fun, and just kind of a quick chat. And if I don't get to you right away, I'm sorry. Don't be afraid to poke at me again and say, hey, Paisley, I sent you a message, and maybe you should message me back, because occasionally I do get so wrapped up in my own head that I don't respond very well, and for that I do apologize. So if I miss you, I'm sorry. Message me again. The call lines are open tonight, so if you want to call me and poke at me now, hi Lee, and hi Monster. The call line is 213-233-3998, or if you're across the pond in the UK, it is 44203-393-2871. So, and I promise I will check to make sure the calls, if there are any, to answer. If I miss you, again, poke at me in the chats. So I appreciate it when y'all poke at me like that. Had a great show last week with Deb, talking about, kind of protecting yourself as an empath. We're kind of going into a family-focused season. As a pagan, we're pretty family-focused year-round, but it seems like with a lot of the Christian holidays like Christmas and such, there's a lot of intense family emotions. So, being able to protect yourself as an empath is huge. And I think it's just pretty important. So if you missed it, go back and check it out. A lot of great information. And so tonight, I wasn't real sure what I was going to talk about, and yeah, it was kind of another one of those serendipitous things. I am not on Reddit, Julia. You know what? Maybe I am. I don't know. I started a Twitter account and Patreon and YouTube, Facebook, website, storefront. Storefront will be on the website. There's another one in there. I will make sure I get all the social media links and put them on the website as well. So if you guys want to reach out and say hello from anywhere, you can. So, but no, tonight, as I was getting ready to fix some dinner, I wanted to make just some cheese soup to go with a grilled cheese sandwich because Minnie Paisley loves cheese, and she had a rough day. She didn't get to go to school today because school was closed, and she was quite disappointed, which is funny. She loves school, loves riding the bus. I'm excited about this, and so I figured I'd just make her some comfort food. And so as I'm getting ready to cook, I pull out my favorite Pyrex measuring cup and put some milk in it. And for anybody who knows me, I do have some issues with arthritis in my hands and in other places, and fibromyalgia, and just good times because, I'm not as young as I used to be. And anyways, I just dropped my cup and totally bummed me out because my cup full of milk spilled everywhere, crashed, burned. I had glass, 12 feet away. It was just spectacular. And just one of those things, you don't plan on breaking stuff like that, and it just really hurts the feelers to not only break your favorite tools, but spill milk too. And I didn't cry over the spilt milk, but it was frustrating. And so my son is been staying with us, and so he was going to help clean it up, which I appreciate. And he's been working and everything, and so I figured I'd do him a favor. And I have hard cider that I made last year. It's been just sitting in my little flip-top bottles, and so I figured, hey, I'll give him a bottle. Thank you very much for cleaning up my spilt milk. And I warned him because I knew I hadn't really checked on it in like 6 months, so his contents under pressure. And I told him to open it over the kitchen sink, and we have like 8 or 9 foot ceilings in the kitchen. And I'm downstairs in the studio area working on my website, and I hear this, oh no! And it's great because there was hard cider dripping off of my ceiling and all over my curtains and windows and floor and the clean dishes, and it's probably an 8-foot radius along with the milk and the glass. And so he's just kind of sitting on Minnie Paisley's step stool. It's pink. It's glorious. It goes well with his work boots, steel-toed boots and everything. And it's really lucky he didn't break a window. So I'm glad it wasn't corked or capped. It was the flip tops. And anyways, it's one of those things, it could go wrong. It did go wrong. And it was quite frustrating because it's like, I just wanted to make some soup, have a grilled cheese sandwich, and then have some hard cider. I have a glass of wine already waiting for me for directly after the show because it's been that kind of night. And suddenly I find myself, instead of getting ready for my show, I am literally mopping the ceiling because I can't reach the ceiling to get the hard cider off of the ceiling. And, it just kind of brought to mind something that, we don't think about very much or very often when we're making decisions or doing things, and that is the unintended consequences of our actions and what we're doing. So I figure, that might be kind of a good topic for tonight, especially as we're moving into Samhain and the thinning of the veil this time of year, and how unintended consequences to our actions can really have a significant impact on our lives. Because, when we're doing things, we expect X to happen or Y to happen, and often that's exactly what happens. And then we forget to stop and think about or plan out what else might possibly happen. Even if we're setting our intentions appropriately, what else could happen? You know, going, running errands. I see Renee's getting on his way to go run a quick errand. Timing is everything. Leaving now versus in 5 minutes or 5 minutes ago. Making that left turn instead of the right turn. Our path can be so divergent, and and not always really knowing where we're actually going to end up, which is part of the reason why my personal philosophy is life really is an adventure. Um, there's going to be ups and downs and all arounds and everything else. So, um, the consequences of making soup would be like, hey, I'm going to have soup, yummy, and the unintended consequence may be that I don't wait for it to cool off, and so I burn my mouth, which I did today on one of those really bad for you burritos that you get at the gas station. They're kind of a guilty pleasure. Hey, Jess. And so just one of those things. So just to talk about it just a bit, there is actually a law of unintended consequences. And I had to look it up, and this is an essay that was written by someone at the University of Pennsylvania, which I thought was kind of interesting. And basically, he says the law of unintended consequences is often cited but rarely defined. It is that actions of people, especially of governments, I think this is an economics paper, but still applies, always have effects that are unanticipated or unintended. And, I think that's just really true. So often, we plan for this, we plan for that. We don't know what else might happen. Flush the toilet after the kid's been in there. I have a 5-year-old, remember? She's not my first 5-year-old. My first 5-year-old was not afraid of putting random things in the toilet, and you didn't know it was there until you flushed the toilet and you had just a disaster on your hands. Unintended consequence of him learning, about the toilet. Yeah, that was fun. And there's other things like that, So I often talk about setting your intentions prior to doing any kind of casting or spell work or ritual, even your meditation circles. Even before I made biscuits and gravy for breakfast this morning. So, before I start my biscuits, I generally just do a quick intention setting. It's like, hey, I want these to turn out great, which it turned out pretty awesome this morning. And, just making sure that intention is in place. Well, even with that, we forget there's a side effect. So, like, this time of year, people like to play with Ouija boards, which I think are horrible. And, and I don't recommend playing with Ouija boards, especially for people who don't understand what's going on. And if you don't know that you need to close the session out at the end, then you're leaving your doorway open basically to who knows, the unknown, literally. And this time of year, it's a lot easier for stuff like that to cross the veil and interact with us in this world, if you will. And so, a lot of folks will get those out, or especially kids will get the Ouija board out. They'll do whatever it is they're doing, thinking it's all in fun and games, without knowing that the potential consequence of their fun and games is possession or hauntings or poltergeists or any of that stuff. And so not knowing the potential consequences and really thinking it through, they don't know that there's some potential negativity. Yeah, Monster, you're right. You want to hear the gods laugh at you, not with you? Tell them that you have plans, and they're not going to change. I make several plans, and I generally know that something could happen at any point, so I'm going to just roll with whatever happens. So yeah, absolutely. that unintended or unknown outcome. Um, and talking about unintended consequences really comes to mind because like a lot of people, especially new witches or new pagans, are asking for, oh, help me do a simple spell. Teach me a simple spell, or I need a love spell because I want my ex back, or something like that. And they don't stop and think that there's a reason why they're not with that person anymore. um, just because it's the relationships end for a reason. But if you do a love spell, one, you're affecting the actions and behaviors of someone else, which is not appropriate at all. And it's not okay to try to manipulate someone else in that way. But also, what happens if your spell is successful? All right, so they decide they love you and they want to come back to you, and so you do. You follow through, and suddenly you're in this blissful relationship where everything's going hunky dory. And then you join a new gym, get a new job, something. You meet new people, and okay, so new people. Then what happens? Well, and you're suddenly not interested in that person anymore. Okay, well, they are in love with you, or they think they are, but now you're not in love with them. So what happens? You break up with them. They're still fascinated or focused on you, and they still think that they need to be with you. And so suddenly you have someone who's borderline obsessed with you. And obsession often leads to stalking. Stalking often leads to inappropriate behavior, often illegal behavior, and harm, and or maybe they refuse to allow you to break up, and suddenly you find yourself, confined to the house because they're so possessive. And those are all unintended consequences of what you thought was a simple love spell. That not knowing what possibly could happen. And, that's not okay. If you haven't thought that through, you don't know what that's potential could happen there, then you're not ready to have that spell. You're not ready to do that working or casting or ritual. And I think it's frustrating to me to see so many people asking for that kind of spell. The other thing is curses. I see a lot of people ask for curses or hexes because they want, they're mad at someone, or they're frustrated with someone. It could be the in-laws. It could be the ex. The other side of this particular coin. It could be someone cut them off in traffic. It could be a coworker or anything else, and they want to do a curse or a hex on someone. Okay, what kind? What's the outcome that you want? And you set your intention. You want something negative to happen to this person. Okay, and then something negative happens, and you're kind of responsible for that negative thing. It could be something as simple as they trip and fall down and get bruised, or maybe you put too much energy because you were too intent, too angry, had too many emotions tied into the outcome, and instead of just being a basic simple bruising type of injury, perhaps they get really hurt, or perhaps they were driving down the road and you wanted them to be hurt, but they lost control of the vehicle and wrecked their whole vehicle. Maybe they wrap it around a tree and they had their family with them, and their family gets hurt then. So now you're responsible for hurting their family. How is that right? That is the unintended consequence of that particular hex or curse. So if you're not paying attention, you don't know what could happen, you're not ready for that power, if you will. You're not ready for that type of authority, that decision to impact others. And it's just not right. And then, well, I don't believe in the threefold rule. This is just not part of my path. I do believe that what you put out there is going to come back to you. So if you're putting out that much negativity into the world, that's what you're going to receive. That's what's going to come back to you. If you're putting that kind of intensity or emotion that's potentially harmful to others out into the world, there's a good chance that that's what you're going to receive. And so you really need to stop and think about what you're saying or what you're doing before you do it, for a ritual especially, or any kind of binding hex, that kind of thing. So yeah, Monster, absolutely be careful what you wish for. You might actually get it. Garth Brooks, great concert, by the way, when I saw him 20 some odd years ago, had a song. It was Thank God for Unanswered Prayers. That particular song really rang strongly with me because I have an ex that I thought I wanted to keep for forever, but you know what? I'm really glad I didn't. It would not have ended well. And I'm in a much better relationship now. I've got a better family life, social life, work life. I'm a better person for it. So yeah, it's just got to be careful. Hi, Naysay. Let's see. Yeah, never go back. Go forward, especially where exes are concerned. Yeah. When I was still actively dating, you had your one chance. If it didn't work out, that's it. If it didn't work out, it probably wasn't meant to. Maybe I'm wrong, but I gotta tell you, none of those exes that I had really felt like it was worth going back to. And then yeah, Monster, absolutely. Monster in YouTube says it wastes too much energy to put that kind of negativity out there, and yeah, it does. I mean, stop and think about how much energy is put into being angry, and that bitterness and that vengeance type behavior and thought pattern. And I don't know, maybe I'm just emotionally lazy when it comes to that kind of thing. I don't have enough energy to put into all that negativity. So yeah, don't need it, don't want it. Yeah, not at all, not at all. And then Jessica Mink just asked, why is the veil so thin this time of year? Well, as we approach Samhain, which is kind of a traditional thinning of the veil, All Hallows Eve, All Saints Eve, that kind of a thing. It's just a time when, in the cycle of the year, the veil is thinner and it's easier for those to cross over or for us to contact those on the other side of the veil. It happens a spring and summer, or not spring and summer, but a spring and fall. Oh, and I'm a bad pagan right now because Beltane, I believe, is the other side. It happens in the spring, and it's just a thinning of the veil. It's easier to contact those on the other side. So the spaces between, sorry, there, if you want to check out the website. And yeah, it's just I don't know, it's just kind of an interesting thing. So that's part of the reason why a lot of folks celebrate Day of the Dead, that kind of thing, right around Halloween, the 1st of November. So, but yeah, talking about unintended consequences, I didn't see a lot that were specifically pagan oriented, but there was a fair bit when it comes to business and politics. And for anybody who's watching U.S. politics right now, which is a circus on any given day, but seems to be even more so here lately, it seems like our politicians, they make a decision, they throw someone under the bus, and then they find out, oh, hey, I was doing that thing too, so maybe I shouldn't have thrown anybody under the bus. So, yeah. It's just, really stop and think about what you want the outcome of your actions to bring to you. And so we're about to the bottom of the hour already, and so we're going to go catch a break. But yeah, so the spaces between .live is the website. The store will be live there by the end of the weekend. I'm hoping. And no, the URL did not work because I can't spell Julia. Really, truly. Let me try that again. And the email is wildpaisley@gmail.com. And the call line number, if you wanted to call in, is 213-233-3998. You can find me on, I can't spell and talk at the same time. There I am. And I will respond, I promise. There. I got it right. If you have any show ideas, please, by all means, let me know. I love doing research, ironically. So, yeah. You're funny, Naysay. So, we are at break time, and I will see you guys in just a few moments. So, see you soon.
Sisters of the shining moon, heaven, earth, and sea, I call upon you in this hour, bring magic unto me. Brothers, oh, the cauldron cries, it singeth unto me the songs of Mother Goddess and of Father in the tree.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are adventuring off into the spaces between. And we are live on Truth Frequency Radio and in YouTube land. And thank you for joining me here. Looks like there's a fair bunch of you. In TFR, it looks like Billy Ray and Armand have joined us there, along with the hilarious Naysay. Hi, Naysay. And I'm seeing a few more folks show up into YouTube world too. So, Megaphone Man. I'm gonna have to learn some names here, folks. So, I just I know some of y'all came over from Paranormal Portal, so thank you for joining me here from there. And Brent and Don have just a great show, and listening to the two of you, or two of them, I should say, because I don't see Don. Don's not in yet. I don't know where Don is. Sometimes they just say the craziest stuff. That is all there is to it. It is just insane. And then it's just, yeah, it's just crazy. That's all there is to it. So yeah, we're talking about unintended consequences. So I'm not sure, checking to see. Nope, no one's called. I'm not missing things here. So yeah, the call-in line again, 213-233-3998, or in the UK, it is 44203-393-2871. So, yeah. Something else that I was doing some, just quick reading over the break. And some of the things that people had posted, like on Reddit and that kind of thing, is that, they had placed a hex or wards around their house for this or that, or in different spaces. And some of the unintended consequences that they had as a result. For instance, one gal had warded her house, her words are 6 ways to Sunday, mostly because she didn't want to deal with a lot of the telemarketers, which, I'm thinking I may have to do that here because, and not necessarily telemarketers, but the door-to-door salesmen or the folks that like to knock on the door and give you their paraphernalia and say, hey, join my cult. And it's like, no, I've got my own, thanks. I don't need yours. And anyways, just to kind of have some of those folks maybe just keep on driving by. And so this gal had set up wards around her house to keep that kind of intruder away or at bay, which I totally appreciate. And then she decided she wanted to change some things and add in a layer or a way for, should children need or have need, for drink of water or a safe place, that kind of thing, that she would have, just not necessarily an open door, but a little bit friendlier, welcoming mat, if you will, for someone in need. And so set the intention, readjusted the wards and everything, and in the process had totally kind of forgotten some of the wording and the potential unintended consequence. And basically she ended up, anybody who needed help, it didn't matter what kind of help they needed, knocked on her door. So she couldn't get anything done because people were always knocking on the door. They needed help. Hey, I can't find this. Can you help me find my shoes? Kind of a thing. Just little stupid, silly things. And so that was the unintended consequence of, wanting to help her community, but not, sitting down and really focusing on the potential ramifications or consequences, of what she was going to do next, or what she wanted as a result of her wards and her spellcasting. So, yes, Black Jay, that is exactly how you get black-eyed kids. you leave the doormat out saying, hey, bring the black-eyed kids here, which would be bad, by the way. We don't want those. From what I have heard on Brent and Don's show, horribly scary, and I don't need them. I have enough problems with, bats in my belfry. I don't need freaky kids too. So, but another person, it was a simple revenge spell for someone who's causing trouble and mischief for other people, just basically being bad folks, and wanted to just set a little revenge spell to make sure that they were going to receive the same kind of treatment that they had been giving out to others. And the results were that the people who had been doing the harm to others ended up being really, really hurt as a result of the revenge spell. And there's a lot of remorse and self-anger, self-frustration, and guilt, because this person had cast this revenge spell, and these people had then been hurt as a result. So you really need to stop and think about what are the results you're going for. It's kind of like yelling at your dog. You want your dog to get off the couch. Totally get it. I have relatively new couches. They're very nice suede couches that I got a screaming deal on, but they're mine, and I don't need dog hair or dog feet or feet, I should say, just in general. I don't like feet all over my couch. And then you holler at the dog to get off the couch. He's like, if you've seen any Far Side cartoon ever, it's like dogs here, blah 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 blah, but cats here, blah blah blah, cat blah blah blah, cat blah blah blah, cat, and they ignore you anyway. So anyways, the dog just hears noise. Oh, you're talking to me. Hi, nice to see you. The dog is talking. The dog is listening. Whoop! I'm getting attention. So you actually have to do something to point the dog in the right direction. I generally snap my fingers and point to the floor. You have feet. I don't like feet. Paws are better than feet, monster. So I snap my fingers and point down, and my dog, Basil, knows that he needs to get off the couch at that point. And it's fine. I could holler at him all day long. Do you think he would care? No. He doesn't care. He thinks you're just talking to him because, well, he's a little on the deaf side. He's old now. And, you're just being friends. Because you're talking to him, you're looking at him, and you're gesturing. But if you snap and you point, he knows exactly what's going on. So, what are the consequences? Well, my sister has this little dog, and they've had it for, 7 years. I don't remember the dog's name, only his nickname, because his nickname is Peapot. Like, Peapot, seriously. They had a little song about I'm a little Peapot, short and stout, because she's like a puggle beagle. Anyways, if you look cross-eyed at this dog, it would have an accident and piddle everywhere. If you talk loud, if you sneezed, it would piddle. So that would be the unintended consequence of any loud noise, is this dog would then pee on things. And so it just they'd have a house full of people over having a good time at a holiday dinner or family dinner, and someone laughs too loud and there's a puddle on the floor. So unintended consequence. That dog would respond very well to noise. It's just not a very bright dog. So just really need to pay attention to your surroundings and what you intend to have as a result of whatever spell or ritual that you're going to do. You also need to make sure that your ingredients or your components of any spell, work, or ritual are the correct ones for whatever casting that you're going to do. Generally speaking, whatever color of a candle, for instance, that you might need, you can substitute like a white candle, but you want to be careful substituting red for green or black for white or anything like that. Just think about the consequences. And you also do you need a new candle? Do you need an old candle? For a lot of the stuff I use, I actually use birthday candles, because I want to make sure that, one, I don't have a bunch of candle stubs left over, because that's annoying. And two, often because most of my rituals and spell castings, that kind of thing, pretty straightforward. I have a specific goal in mind for each of them. And I'm not a complicated person, not really. And contrary to what some might believe. And I don't I don't need a long-term candle. Now I do have one that I'm using often for cleansing in my space. Um, and just need to make sure that I've got the right thing going on. So I have a white taper candle that I keep on my desk at all times, and I'll light it, and that's generally what I light my smudge from. Easy breezy, that's what I go with. Um, but I do have some other candles that I use for other things. I just recently I go to the dollar store periodically because they have all these really awesome the tall jar type candles, and yeah, and I've got one that I'll be dedicating at the full moon specifically as a full moon candle, so that I'll be using it specifically for full moon rituals. And there's nothing wrong with having tools that are specific for those things. Just remember, if you start using those tools for specific things, you've got labeled basically. That's what they're there for. You don't then use them for other things. It's kind of like using your paring knife as a screwdriver. Will it turn the screw? Maybe. Are you going to slice the bejeebers out of your hand? Yes. Yes, you will. Because that is the unintended consequence of using the wrong tool for the wrong job. That's just all there is to it. Good night, Naysay. So, yeah. Just be aware of the potential side effects. And we see this often in a lot of the world around us. Medications that we take often have drug interactions that we need to pay attention to. Just real basic, the unintended consequence. Hey, I'm trying to take this thing to make me feel better, but this one doesn't mix with this one, and as a result, I now have hives. Not such a good thing. If you're drinking teas, or if you're doing herbal remedies, you need to do the same thing. You need to make sure that the potential side effects or components of what you're taking are interacting correctly together and with your health and with any other medications you might be taking. Now, I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on TV. But common sense says if I have high blood pressure, I should probably avoid things that are going to give me high blood pressure. Or if I am a pregnant person and I want to take this tea because it'll make me feel better generally, but has potentially negative side effects for pregnant folks, you don't take it because you're pregnant. I mean, it's you need to understand what you're putting into your body and doing with your life before you do it. So, research. One of those mantras that I will always tell you to do is do your own research. Don't just take my word for it. I'm not an expert. I don't play one on TV either. Mostly the show that we do here that y'all are joining me for is my 3 cents, because it is. It's my opinion, it's my path, and it's what I'm doing. It's what's working for me, or sometimes not working, like when I tried to cook this morning or this afternoon and, exploded cider all over the ceiling. Those things are unintended. So, make sure you're doing your own research and making sure that you're doing the things that you need to do to accomplish what you want to accomplish. So, if you're doing readings, make sure you're cleansing your cards or your runes or your pendulum, whatever it is you're doing for a reading, prior to doing a new reading for a new person. Often it can be just something simple. Make sure you've got the right stones for it, salts, moon water, even sunlight. It's often very cleansing, that kind of thing. Make sure you're setting your intention correctly. Intentions are very much a big deal. Very, very, very much. If you're, trying to do spell work or something like that, and you have a specific result that you want to have happen, make sure your workspace is clean. And that's a pretty big deal. That's why witches are generally associated with a broom or besom, is because they use it to clean their space prior to doing a casting or a ritual, because they want to make sure that the negative energies have been swept away, or and that the anything that might have been there previously is no longer there. It's gone. So make sure you're doing that cleansing, that and preparing your space for the next thing. Let's see. And also, like I mentioned, I use birthday candles for a lot of my stuff, just because they're the right size. If you do have candle stubs, set them aside. I have a little pot that I put everything in, because I want to make sure that I'm saving them for something significant. Probably at Yule, I will do just kind of a cleansing fire in general and burn all of it. Some of your smudge sticks, the ashes, you can use that to make black salt, which is generally another potential ingredient for rituals or castings. And just really pay attention to what you're doing. Don't be afraid to take notes. I personally have notes or notebooks. I've got 2 at my desk, 2 next to or sitting on my dresser next to my bed. I've got 1 in the dining room where I do a lot of things, and then I keep 1 in the car, and I got 2 at work. And those are just for my practice, my being a pagan. And if I've got a little bit of rhyme that I want to remember, I've finally attained that age where I know that if I think of something that's pretty cool, I need to write it down so that I don't forget it. Because I know, just like a lot of you know, that if you say, "Oh, I'll remember this later," you're not going to remember it. So make sure you are doing what you need to do to remember what you want to remember later. Because I've had a lot of great story ideas or poetry just kind of run through my mind because I'm driving down the road and I'm bored and my mind is trying to be busy to stay awake. And I think, oh, well, I'll remember this later. I won't do a quick voice recording, or I won't stop and write it down or something. And yeah, the next thing I know is a deer runs out in front of me and I remember nothing. So excuse me. So just pay attention, write things down. It's okay. That way you remember what you want to achieve later. There are really no safety nets when it comes to practicing magic, doing rituals, that kind of thing. Short of casting a circle prior to make sure that whatever energies you're using are kept within the circle. And this is important. Those circles casting is important because, again, keeping the energy within and focusing the energy within. And you will I just totally lost my thought. Apparently I need coffee, not wine. You really want to keep that focus. So hold on, I'm looking at YouTube messages. The devil's lettuce, y'all are funny. It's only that because it's illegal and the Abrahamic faiths aligned with big business to get it outlawed and illegalized. It should just be legalized and tax the bejeebers out of it and use the taxes for education, because why not? So yes, write things down. It's important. If it's important enough for you to think about it or dwell on it, write it down. Often that's a really great way to just get rid of some of the negativity that you have in your mind anyways. If you've got something that's really driving you nuts, something that's causing you anger or frustration, write it down. It's a way to purge. So the notebooks I have are more for notes. I do have one that I can use for journaling. I don't generally, because I don't feel the need to journal most of the time, but I'm writing things down all the time. I have one notebook that I use, and I just looked at it, just specifically for divinations, especially if I'm doing a divination for someone else. Because I write down whatever question it is that they want answered. I write down what I'm using for the divination, the results, my interpretation, the basic meaning of the runes that I use prior to, or I talk about prior to actually, interpreting them for a client. And I think it's important to keep track of that. If nothing else, it helps me know what kind of journey I've been on and where I'm at in my journey, because I may learn a concept today and it may take a few weeks to get it soaked into my head. Yes, because occasionally that's just the way it is. But if I am writing things down, I can go back in 6 months and say, oh, that's what that really meant. Because then I understand it better. I understand the concept better. I've got a couple books that I'm reading, and the same thing. As I'm reading them, I'm actually taking notes, because some of them have practices that you need to do to kind of learn. So talking about energy work and feeling like an aura, which I can feel mine now, which is pretty super cool. I've worked with my dogs. My old dog with the back issues, and kind of to help him relieve his pain. I need to do a session tomorrow with him. It seems to help. And but I'm trying to keep track of that, because it is just really interesting to me to go back and learn or relearn or reobserve the things that I was learning 6 months ago. Because I think it's just important to reinforce some of those ideas and some of those concepts that come to us as we're learning our path and learning more about our path. So yes, take notes. Otherwise, the unintended consequence here is you will forget everything you wrote down, or thought you were going to write down, or thought you were going to remember. And it's frustrating, because you know what? Some of those ideas that we have are awesome. They're earth-shattering. They're a true breakthrough. But because we didn't write it down, we didn't necessarily remember it. And because we didn't remember it, really wasn't a breakthrough. So, write things down. It's good for you. Or most phones, cell phones, have an audio recorder. Don't be afraid to just leave yourself a quick audio note. I've got several. Part of the reason why I'm okay doing a show nowadays is because I'm used to listening to myself now. I don't like my voice, but hey, it works. So, just make sure that you are tracking the things that you need to track to accomplish what you need to accomplish. And be aware of the potential unintended consequences of your behaviors and your actions. Throw your garbage out the window because you don't want it in the car. Which is really tacky, by the way. If I see you do it, I will pick up the garbage and throw it back in your car. But if law enforcement sees you, you're probably going to get a ticket. That is the unintended consequence of doing whatever you just did. Straight up. So don't do it. The choices we make have consequences that we're aware of. Like, here it is, the first week of the month. A lot of people are paying their rent and wanting to make sure their bills are paid for the month. All right. So you sit down and you do it all, and you think, oh, my paycheck is X, my bills are Y. If I pay all my bills right now, they'll leave me $10. All right, that's cool. But if it's 2 weeks till your next paycheck, and you only have $10, and you need gas and groceries, $10 isn't going to do it. You need to make sure you're budgeting appropriately in this particular instance, to make sure that you've got enough money to cover your gas bill and your grocery bill until your next paycheck, when you can pay the rest of your bills. So it's just really not just the unintended consequences, but budgeting your time, your energies, and your resources. Just, I guess, as part of being a grown-up in a way, making sure that we are putting our energies where they need to go, and understanding what the consequences of putting those energies in different places. So, on that note, new website by the end of the weekend. It is www.thespacesbetween.live. The store will be on it, which will be great. Patreon will be live by the end of the weekend also, with the different levels. which some of those are giving me more work, but I think it'll be good. It'll be good for me personally, which because this show is all about me, right? So yeah, yeah, it'll be good. Um, and then yes, I'll be live again tomorrow night. Don't know what we're talking about yet. We'll figure it out. And don't be afraid to give us a call. And then the email address is wildpaisley@gmail.com. That's WILDEPAISLEY@gmail.com. And yeah, give me a call, shoot me an email, find me on Facebook. There is a contact form on the website, so if you want to send me a message, that's cool too. So I love it when you guys reach out to me and say hello. It's just doggone awesome, and I appreciate it every single time. And as I'm doing that, I'm looking at my my show stuff, and yeah, I got all sorts of updating to do. Goodness gracious! So, thank you for joining me tonight. So, merry meet and merry part and merry meet
I
again. And this is Paisley Wild, and you've been
adored
listening to
within
the Spaces
the
Between.
sun,
Have a good night, all.
will so motive.